Welcome to my channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. Let's go. The 1969 British 10 pence coin, officially struck as a 10 new pence coin and often referred to simply as the 1969 10p, is one of the earliest coins of Britain's modern decimal era and carries both historical and numismatic significance. It was produced in the run-up to full decimalisation, which took effect in 1971 and physically replaced the older florin 2 shillings denomination while keeping the same size and mass, giving it an immediate place in everyday circulation across the United Kingdom. The coin's specifications reflect the standard large 10 pence format used from 1968 until the redesign in 1992. It was struck in cupronickel, commonly given as 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighed approximately 11.31 grams, and measured 28.5 mm in diameter with a milled, reeded edge, features that gave it a solid, substantial feel in the hand compared with later small 10p pieces. The obverse heads of the 1969 issue shows the young bust of Queen Elizabeth II facing right, with the inscription including the traditional Latin abbreviations such as DG Reg FD in many examples executed in the classical style that was used on British coinage of that era. This portrait was sculpted by Arnold Machin and presents the youthful, early reign effigy that collectors associate with late 1960s-1970s issues. The reversed tails carries the original Christopher Ironside design, a crowned walking lion, formerly the lion passant gardant, a piece of the royal arms and an emblem long associated with England, with the figure of the lion proudly striding and the numeral 10 placed beneath it. Around the rim for 1968-1981 issues the legend reads, "New pence," a phrase later changed to 10 pence, in the 1980s when the word new was no longer necessary. In terms of production and circulation, the 1969 mintage was very large, in the hundreds of millions, reflecting the need to supply decimal coinage to a nation preparing for a major currency transition. Authoritative mintage listings show 314,008,000 10 pence coins for 1969 specifically, which means these coins were common in circulation and remain relatively numerous in the collector market compared with scarcer dates or special struck varieties. Because the large 10p coins remained the same size as the pre-decimal florin, they were convenient replacements, but the size and metal content were reviewed over time, eventually leading to the smaller 10p introduced in 1992, with older larger 10p pieces being demonetized and withdrawn from circulation on the 30th of June 1993. The change reduced weight and metal use while keeping the face value, so the 1969 large size issues are now a distinct historical type rather than part of current circulating coinage. From a collector's perspective, the 1969 10p is appealing for several reasons: its role in decimalisation history, the attractive Ironside lion motif, and the classic Machin portrait of the Queen. However, because of the very high original mintage, circulated examples are common and typically command only modest premiums over face value unless they are in exceptionally fine, uncirculated condition or show rare die errors, deep proof-like strikes, or other anomalies. Specialist catalogs and pricing guides note that values rise steeply with grade, and exceptional uncirculated specimens or pieces with minting oddities, off-center strikes, clipped planchettes, die cracks, or unusual toning can be of interest to advanced collectors and dealers, but ordinary worn 1969 10p coins are usually inexpensive and are still frequently encountered in mixed coin lots and collections. Technically, the coin's metallurgy, cupronickel, gave it a silver-colored appearance and reasonable durability, but the high copper content also meant that prolonged circulation produced wear, smoothing the high points of the lion and the Queen's hair and reducing sharpness of legend and denticles. Collectors who seek detail look for pieces with crisp dentals, a well-defined mane on the lion, and a sharp portrait relief. For those interested in variety collecting, note the legend wording "New pence" vs. 10 pence. Helps place the coin within a specific historical subperiod, the new pence legend being diagnostic of the early decimal pieces, and there are also different die states and occasional proof or uncirculated sets from the Royal Mint that contain specially struck examples with superior surfaces. Beyond the physical and numismatic specifics, the 1969 10p is a small cultural artifact of Britain's move to decimal currency and the modernization of everyday coinage. It circulated through shops, pockets, purses and cash tills at a time of social and economic change, carrying daily life's small transactions and now serving as a tangible link to the early decimal era for both British citizens who remember the changeover and for younger collectors discovering the story. If you're handling or buying a 1969 10p, check the coin's condition carefully, compare with reputable price guides or dealer listings for graded examples, and beware that while circulated pieces are abundant and inexpensive, truly collectible specimens, high-grade, proof strikes, or error pieces are comparatively rare and should be authenticated by a trusted dealer or grading service for accurate valuation. The 1969 10 new pence coin sits at a fascinating crossroads in British monetary history, representing not only a new denomination but also the early stages of a major national transformation, the shift from centuries-old pounds, shillings, pence to decimal currency. Its story actually begins long before the coin was minted, in the early 20th century, when numerous commissions and economists argued that Britain's traditional system, based on 12 pence to the shilling and 20 shillings to the pound, had become impractical for a modern economy. Businesses, teaching systems, accountants, and international traders all struggled with calculations that most of the world had already replaced with decimal-based money. By the mid-1960s, pressure intensified, especially as Britain aimed to modernize its economy and align with international standards. This momentum finally pushed Parliament to approve full decimalisation, scheduled for February 1971. But the transition needed years of preparation, and that preparation gave birth to the 1969 10 new pence coin. The coin was purposely designed to match the older florin, 2 shillings, in size, weight, and value. This was a strategic choice. People were already familiar with the florin, and by making the new 10p identical in dimensions, the government eased the psychological and practical shift. Thus, the 1969 10p acted like a bridge coin, blending the old monetary world with the emerging decimal era. Its arrival also marked the introduction of an entirely new aesthetic direction for British currency. While earlier designs drew heavily from deep heraldic tradition, the new decimal designs sought clarity, simplicity, and wider public appeal. The reverse design, Christopher Ironside's lion passant guardant wearing a royal crown, blended tradition with modern presentation, symbolizing strength, stability, and national identity in a way both classic and contemporary. This lion design quickly became one of the most iconic symbols of early decimal coinage. On the obverse, the youthful portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by sculptor Arnold Machin reflected a confident, modern monarch entering a new phase of her reign. This portrait became one of the most widely reproduced royal images in British history, appearing on stamps, coins, and official materials for decades. For many people around the world, the Machin portrait became the face of British currency during the latter half of the 20th century, and the 1969 10p was among the earliest coins to carry it. Because of this, collectors often see the coin as both a numismatic artifact and a cultural object reflecting a specific era of the Queen's image and national identity. Economically, the late 1960s were a time of significant change. Industrial restructuring, labor movements, international competition, and the United Kingdom's desire to modernize in order to compete in global markets. The new decimal coins, including the 1969 10p, symbolized progress, efficiency, and alignment with international standards. The minting of the coin in such large numbers was not simply financial preparation, it was part of a broader cultural shift, educating the nation through the coin circulating in everyday life even before decimal day arrived. Schoolchildren were taught using these coins, shops began planning their new pricing systems, and the public saw these new designs as a sign that a new monetary age was approaching. As circulation expanded through the 1970s and 1980s, the 10p coin became a daily companion in British pockets, used in post offices, vending machines, early video games, payphones, bus fares, and even the first generations of household parking meters. For many people, the sound of these large, heavy 10p coins became a familiar part of daily life. Over time, however, evolving economic needs, rising metal costs, and the desire for more portable currency led the Royal Mint to reconsider the size. This culminated in the 1992 redesign, when the 10p was reduced in diameter and weight. As a result, the original large Type 10 new pence, including the 1969 issue, was eventually demonetized in 1993, ending nearly a quarter-century of service. Today, the 1969 10p holds historical value beyond its monetary worth. It represents the earliest chapter of Britain's decimal era, a moment when the country deliberately reshaped its currency and its connection to the global economy. The coin is also a reminder of the artistic talents of two major designers, Ironside and Machin, whose work helped define British coinage for generations. While ordinary circulated examples remain common, the coin's true significance lies in its story, a story of national transformation, cultural evolution, design innovation, and economic modernization. Collectors often value it for the role it played rather than its rarity, seeing it as a symbolic relic of a turning point in British monetary history.